Why is it always a Jeep? Our submitter Jayle thinks Jeep drivers always think they're special and that they own the highways. Let's rewind and start from the beginning. Jayle was driving his Tesla Model X down the passing lane of a New Jersey highway when he merged to the travel lane to let a Toyota pass him. Around the same time, a Jeep driver was swerving in and out of traffic and cutting off other drivers. A different Toyota ahead of Jayle in the travel lane began slowing down, so he merged back into the passing lane to overtake it. That's when the Jeep driver caught up to Jayle, but instead of slowing down, he decided to pass both Jayle and the Toyota on the right. As the Jeep driver merged into the travel lane, the Jeep made contact with an Audi that was also changing lanes. The Jeep then dove into the Tesla, shoving it into the median barrier. The Jeep was then sent airborne as it also smashed into the median barrier head-on. Incredibly, nobody was harmed in the collision. Even more incredibly, nobody was willing to accept responsibility for it. The estimate to repair Jayle's Model X came to $73,000. The Jeep driver's insurance provider accepted responsibility, but the Jeep driver only had the mandatory $25,000 of liability coverage. Jayle is now trying to get the rest of the repair bill covered by his own insurance provider. Good luck, Jayle. Jake was driving his friend to the Los Angeles International Airport when a Dodge came charging at him out of nowhere. We rewatched his footage frame by frame, and as far as we can tell, the Charger cut across the gore point to get onto the highway, but the driver clipped the front of a garbage truck in the process. After witnessing this, Jake thought his Tesla had been hit by the Dodge Charger, but when he pulled over to check for damage, he couldn't find any. He told us he hugged his friend as they both thanked their guardian angels for protecting them. Jake called 911 to report the incident and tell the California Highway Patrol he had footage of the collision. Reedy bought a Model Y from a wrecking yard after it was totaled in a collision. When he managed to start it up, he found Teslacam footage revealing how it had been wrecked. The Tesla had been driving down a highway in Atlanta, Georgia, when it slowed down for an SUV in the travel lane. All of a sudden, the driver of another SUV behind the Tesla swerved, overcorrected, and crashed into it. The impact sent it crashing into the median barrier. Reedy told us he thinks the SUV driver must have been distracted, but he doesn't know that for sure. What he does know is that nobody was injured in the collision, and the insurance company totaled the car instead of repairing it, which is how Reedy ended up with it. Now he's working on getting it back on the road. When Keith pulled into a cell phone store parking lot, he found two police cars that were blocking in a suspect vehicle. When Keith asked to get through so he could enter the store, officers denied his request. Keith overheard officers saying a suspect was asleep in the car. He went to get some food while he waited for them to clear the scene, but he had no idea what would happen next. After several more officers arrived, the suspect woke up and tried to escape by reversing. One of the cops pushed his vehicle into the cell phone store. The suspect then tried to escape on foot, but an officer deployed a taser and took him down right next to Keith's Tesla. Keith provided a copy of his Teslacam footage to the police after an officer noticed the Tesla's camera was pointed right where the guy had gone down. Keith provided a statement to a local news reporter, and they proceeded to chop his remarks down to just a couple of seconds of him saying he was thankful his Tesla hadn't been damaged. Another angle was posted in the Seattle subreddit by user President Joe. This footage came from the mattress store right next to the cell phone store. According to the news station, the suspect was charged with eluding a police vehicle, possessing a stolen motor vehicle, driving under the influence of drugs, 2 counts of felony assault, and the sale and delivery of methamphetamine. Sounds like he had an eventful afternoon. Jordan was getting a car wash when...
Jump in! Honda!
Sorry, Jordan, but this might be the funniest Teslacam clip we've ever seen. That has to be the Honda bump to end all Honda bumps. We have to assume the next thing he said was, "We've been trying to reach you about your vehicle's extended warranty." Eric had left his Model 3 parked on the streets of Munich, Germany when wham!
Bam! Teslacam! I hope you're satisfied!
Yeah, we have no idea what happened here, but that guy seems very angry. Garrett was driving his Model Y behind a pickup truck hauling a full-size shipping container on a flatbed trailer that was several feet too short for the load. Okay, we'll just let Garrett tell you what happened in his own words. Idiot with illegal load hanging over trailer sideswiped me while turning. The guy got aggressive and said I'm dumb, and he knows that I'm dumb because I drive a Tesla. Well, I have proof he is the idiot, thanks to my Tesla. When we asked Garrett if he had anything to add to the story, he said, "This guy is an absolute idiot." Well, there you have it. We can only imagine how heated the argument must have gotten. Who do you think is the idiot in this situation? Let us know in the comments. Kokol was driving his Model 3 on a busy Bulgarian boulevard. When his light turned yellow, Kokol slowed down to stop, but the BMW driver behind him decided to go around him and run the light even as it turned red. Had he checked his mirrors, he would have known that the vehicle behind him was a police car. The officer lit up his party lights and pulled the BMW driver over for some instant justice. Kokol informed his girlfriend that he just captured a video for Wham Baam. Nice! While Alan was inside a bank closing on a home purchase, another customer exited the bank, seemingly glancing at his Tesla before getting into an SUV. The guy then backed into the Tesla, which made a loud bang. A bank employee who saw the collision made eye contact with the SUV driver, but he just took off. Police came to the scene, but they chose not to charge the SUV driver with hit and run unless the repair estimate exceeded $5,000. Even though the bank knew exactly who the guy was and had security cam footage of the collision, they refused to provide it to anyone but the police. The repair estimate came to $1,600, so the cops dropped the whole thing, leaving Alan's insurance provider to pick up the bill. The bank wouldn't provide them with the SUV driver's identity either. Alan hasn't given up though. The SUV had dealer plates on it. If you recognize which dealer this vehicle belongs to, let us know and we'll pass the information along. Jan was heading home after school, and she told us traffic in the parking lot gets really bad when school gets out. One student decided ain't nobody got time for that and hopped the curb, nearly sideswiping other vehicles while driving around them. This sort of behavior seems pretty on brand for that type of vehicle, or am I out of line? Either way, the student was certainly out of line. This emitter was driving home from visiting a furniture store in Athens, the capital of Greece. He was waiting in traffic when the Ford van behind him started moving, then bumped into him. A passenger in the van got really upset and displayed the universal sign of disappointment, the facepalm. The driver accepted fault, and our submitter continued home to build his new furniture, which may or may not have been an even worse experience than getting rear-ended. Pavel had parked his Model Y in a corner spot in a parking garage, which we assume was his attempt to avoid door dings. Sadly, he experienced something far worse. That's right, a Honda Civic swiped his parked Tesla on its way out of the garage, damaging the driver's door, fender, headlight, and front bumper cover. His Model Y's alarm was activated, and Pavel was sent a phone notification while in the middle of work. He headed to the parking garage and discovered the damage. The initial repair estimate was only $2,600, but after a full inspection at a repair shop, it jumped to over $10,000. Sadly, Pavel wasn't able to read the Honda's license plate number in his Sentry mode footage, but he still has hope. Right behind the Honda was another Model Y in Quicksilver. If you're the owner of that other Model Y, let us know. Pavel would really appreciate not having to pay his insurance deductible. He also wanted to shout out his 10-year-old son Damien, who loves Wham Baam, as well as the YouTube video streaming team in Cambridge. Nick was taking his kids to their swimming lessons when he accelerated away from a green light as usual. What he didn't realize at the time was that the Suzuki driver next to him was pushing his engine hard. He was evidently in a hurry and thought he could outrun Nick's Tesla. Sadly, construction on the road ahead was forcing traffic to merge, and that's where things went horribly wrong. The Suzuki driver, equipped with 4 dangerously worn-out tires, slammed on his brakes on the wet road. He lost control and slid into the left side of Nick's Tesla, causing significant damage to both vehicles. After the collision, the other driver was visibly frustrated but eventually agreed to fill out a collision report. His insurance covered the $10,000 repair bill, which paid for 2 new doors as well as other bodywork to Nick's Tesla. Aries was using full self-driving on his way to pick up some empanadas before work when a guy suddenly threw a shopping cart into the road. Aries told us he didn't disengage FSD as the car took evasive action, utilizing the left turn lane to avoid the cart. Aries doesn't know what provoked this behavior or if this should be considered a cart demon attack. Tell us what you think in the comments below. Sarah was on her way to work when she began exiting I-295. This off-ramp splits, with one half heading toward Highway 32, while the other half, which is less busy, heads into the National Business Park. Most of the recent snowfall had been cleared off the highway, except for what was still left on the lesser-used half of the off-ramp. The driver of the SUV following behind Sarah either locked up their brakes, or they suddenly realized they were in the wrong lane. Either way, they ended up smashing into a crash attenuator. Sarah was unable to safely stop, but she told us she saw several other drivers slow down to help the driver.
Wham Bam, we got a Patreon man. Please support the show.